Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Flare CEO says Western Union deal with Solana holds no bearing on XRP. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm sure you guys have heard the news. Solana have got a deal with Western Union, and this has, caused some frustration within the XRP community. So I'm just going to add my 2 cents into this. So, look, the first thing I'm going to say before I get into this, because, I can already see where this is going to go. But look, for me, just acknowledge that I am an XRP holder, right? I'm an XRP holder, so I am 100% invested in XRP and I want XRP to do well. So when I'm talking about this, I'm being completely transparent on my thoughts. It's not going to be completely negative, just for the record, but I am going to just be completely real with how I think on this, right? So let's really get into this. So, okay, in regards to this deal, so it's obviously official now, and first and foremost, Solana just couldn't help but them try and get a dig on the XRP when they made the announcement. They made a dig about, the bridge currency thing. Once again, I just have to say this first and foremost. I just really think, a lot of these crypto networks, the people behind them, they've just got no class, man. They've just got no class and no professionalism. Like, you don't see Ripple doing things like this. Like, you don't see when Ripple get like a partnership or anything like that, say, oh yeah, it's not on Solana, or, it's not on Ethereum. We're not doing all that stuff. Like, they don't do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really just find it so bizarre that people are so childish when it comes to this stuff. Like, I get that people want to support their networks and stuff, but it's like, you haven't got to like try and bash other networks just to put yours up. Do you know what I mean? Like, if people like your network, they like your network. There's enough people around to, get yourself a user base. You don't need to be trying to like knock other cryptos down. But anyway, let's move on from that. Okay, so look, the first thing I'm going to say with regards to this, and this is one of the things that I will just mention in terms of like, not necessarily a positive, but just a different way of looking at this. I'm under the impression that Solana paid for this deal. So I did hear about this, but it wasn't 100% confirmed. So I'm going to show you this. Now there's rumors of a $50 million deal with Western Union for a 6-month partnership. Then there's another one where it said Solana has entered into a $50 million partnership with Western Union. So one sounds like it's confirming it to be true. The other's saying it like, it's a rumor. So I don't know if it's 100% confirmed. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a paid partnership, and that's not me trying to be biased against XRP. The reason why I say that is because I know, for example, when Ripple had a partnership with Western Union, because they actually did before, Ripple basically paid for that partnership too, right? Like, Ripple were giving them XRP to trial it out and giving them funding. So it's not like, this is not like uncommon. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So the first thing I will say is that this doesn't necessarily mean that they've picked Solana off of the back of, we just think Solana is the best choice. It looks to me like it's very possible that Solana have done this in a bit to get Western Union, in hope that they'll obviously use the network, like the network, and then ultimately stick with that network. But yeah, it's pretty safe to say this is happening, right? It is what it is. And so we've now got obviously the fact that Swift have partnered with Chainlink and Ethereum to do cross-border payments, and we also have now Western Union who are doing their stablecoin on Solana. And I think Stripe are creating their own blockchain, if I remember rightly. I was covering something like that. And so, look, a lot of people have said this at this point, right? It's looking like stablecoins is where things are going to go. And it's quite funny because people are saying stablecoins even over CBDCs. Like, a lot of the narrative that we used to hear was, CBDCs are going to be the thing that comes in. I'm not saying that that's completely washed out, but from what I generally hear and the research I do, it seems that stablecoins are going to be more the way they go with this than even, CBDCs. Now, obviously, time will tell. I don't know for sure how that's going to work out, but that's just stuff that I'm seeing and hearing. And so, what have people have got to understand here? Because, once again, I've heard a few people kind of make this argument of, oh, well, Swift can't do settlement. It can only do, the messaging side of things. please understand that when it comes to using the blockchain technology now, they will be able to do settlement. So like, you know, for people who are hanging on to that narrative of like, this isn't going to change anything, it does. They will be able to do settlement with the stablecoins. The stablecoins can do settlement. So that is just a fact at this point. So look, I'm just going to be completely transparent about this, right? Does this have any kind of bearing on XRP? I would say yes and no, right? So let's go with the no first. Let's go with more with the positive first. The reason why I say no is because I've never looked at cross-border payments being the be-all and end-all of XRP success, right? Now, I completely understand that this is what Ripple have propositioned XRP as, like it's been the main use case for XRP, the bridge currency. I get that completely. But I've always said, like, don't just focus on Ripple, like, look at the other things that's going on. And even if you do just focus on Ripple anyway, if you look at the things that they're doing now, you know, tokenization, DEX, etc., like buying the treasuries, doing the acquisitions, you know, that kind of stuff, hidden road, etc., you know, all these things that they're doing, applying for a banking license, custody, etc., like, you can tell that Ripple they're pivoting away from just the whole cross-border payment narrative, right? So that's not really like their sole focus anymore. So to me, I don't just look at cross-border payments as their sole route to success. And so because of that, to me, this isn't like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Do you know what I mean? Because I do think there's other avenues for XRP to be successful. Now, I do think, and this is something that David Schwartz has admitted as well, like I do think Ripple went all in with XRP as the bridge currency narrative at first. And I'll be honest with you, I understand why. Like, and this is something I'll get into when I speak about the negative side of things. I do understand why they did that, but I think they've realized that, you know, that hasn't turned out as successful as they would hope. And so they've pivoted now. And so they're doing other things, which, again, as a business, that's what you do, right? If things are not really working out the way you hope them to do, you pivot, you start looking at other ways. Otherwise, your company could go into extinction, right? It's just one of those things. So, in terms of like this really affecting XRP to a point where like I think XRP is dead now, I don't buy that, right? I don't think that this is the end of XRP at all. So it doesn't concern me in that kind of way. So let's now move over to the negative side of things. Okay, so what's the negative in my opinion? I think the negative at this point is, in my opinion, I think the whole thing of XRP being a bridge currency is very slowly dying out. I think that particular use case, I'm not saying that they won't have any success with it at all. Not saying that whatsoever. I think they will still have success with it. But I've always been realistic with you guys, right? Like I've told you from the get-go that, you know, Ripple was never going to replace Swift. I've told you that it's never going to be a thing where every bank in the world and every company was going to be using XRP. I never believed that, and I've told you that from the get-go. But even when I was realistic with my thoughts about where, you know, XRP as a bridge currency could work, I'm starting to like lower my expectations even a little bit more now, even from a realistic perspective, because like it does just seem, in all honesty, from what I see, that stablecoins is what's going to be the thing. You know, like it does just seem from what I can see from, you know, just watching this space and research and seeing new things develop. It does seem like stablecoins are going to be the way forward. And this is what some people don't understand is like, any crypto can be a bridge currency, including a stablecoin, right? So when Ripple was going through the lawsuit with the SEC, they were using Tether as a stablecoin. And that's why they ended up making their own stablecoin, because it was like, we're putting a lot of money into Tether's pocket using theirs. Why don't we make our own stablecoin? And then at least we can still benefit from, you know, some of that money. And I think obviously they just realized that stablecoins is a big business as well. So, you know, they got into it quickly. And so it doesn't have to be that XRP is the bridge currency. You know, you can have other things that are used as the bridge currency. Or you don't have to have a bridge currency at all. Like, you can just use stablecoins and that's it. And in all honesty, just being completely transparent with you guys, that seems the way things are heading. So I'm not saying that, there won't be any type of usage for XRP as a bridge currency. I think when it comes to like the more exotic corridors, I think there will be, usage for XRP there. But I'm starting to think less of XRP having that use case for cross-border payments. And I'm thinking we need to look at other areas, to be honest with you, because I think its success lies in other use cases, in all honesty. Not to say, again, it can't still get some kind of success, but even for me, when I was thinking about it to a certain degree, I'm starting to think maybe even that kind of realistic outlook might not be quite where we're going. And this is my thing, right? Because I want to level you guys here. I'm surprised. To me, it doesn't really make sense, if I'll be completely honest with you. Like, I think it's strange. Because, look, if we just talk about what XRP was designed to do, right? Obviously, acting as a bridge currency, taking away the need for Nostro-Vostro accounts, converting any currency into another currency within seconds and actually settling that transaction. To me, I still don't get why it's not being picked up. Like, the only thing that I can really think of is because Ripple holds so much of the escrow and they're a US-based company. So maybe they're worried that if XRP did get that heavily adopted, that maybe, it could be a thing of, the success of XRP could like make Ripple just, wealthy beyond belief and create a huge monopoly in the financial sector. But like, I don't get why people, so let's just speak, for example, from like a jurisdiction point of view. I don't get why, for example, China would want to hold a US dollar stablecoin. Like, why would you want to do that now at this point when you can have a bridge currency and you don't have to use the other stablecoin? And this can go for any country. I'm not just saying it specifically about China and America. Like, it could be, for example, India to the UK. Like, it could be any country. Like, I'm not trying to like point anything out for just political reasons. I'm just saying, why deal with another country's stablecoin? Like, to me, what XRP did, it eliminated the need to have to hold another country's stablecoin. You just hold your own stablecoin. You have your own country stablecoin. You use XRP as the bridge, and it will get to the other country in their stablecoin, and that's it. I still don't get why the stablecoin thing is being picked over that, because it means that other countries are now going to have to hold another country's stablecoin. And, when you think about like how countries are trying to move away from, for example, reliance on the dollar and stuff like that, why would you then want to deal with their stablecoin? And also it comes down to, trust of, that company stablecoin. Like, why not just deal with your own? You know what I mean? Like, so I will be completely honest with you here. Like, I don't get it. I'm being honest, but I don't get how it's come to pass in this way. I still think it's strange, in all honesty. But I think this is just the truth of where we're at this point. I think this is just what it is. So, look, for me, I'm not here to say that this is doom and gloom. Again, I think the people who are going to be really heartbroken by all this stuff, if they can admit reality, is the $10,000 guys, right? Because this is just more evidence that every bank or every company are not going to use XRP. Like, that's just a fact. Like, we can literally see this. Like, they're showing you. So for the people who thought it was going to go to $10,000, yeah, I guess this is starting to show cracks in their thinking, right, in their theories. But like for me, who's a lot more grounded with where XRP is going to get to, like I'm not that hit by this, because I've always had realistic expectations anyway, and I've never been focused solely on just cross-border payments for XRP. So it is a bit like of a bummer in a way, because I did think that even from a realistic point of view with my stance, I thought XRP would be more utilized as a bridge currency. Like, I'll be honest with that, but I've never thought it was going to be like every bank in the world and every company in the world and every foreign exchange company using XRP. I've never believed that anyway. But I can be honest to say, even my realistic expectations seem a little bit like, maybe that's not going to be as much either. So yeah, look, to me, it's not the end of the world. Like, I ain't gonna lie, it's not great. Do you know what I mean? Like, cause I do think the bridge currency aspect of XRP, I do think it is a very good use case. It's a very unique use case. Like, you don't see other networks trying to do it. But I think we've just got to accept what the reality is. I think that's just that's just where we're at this point. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna get too like downhearted about it or anything like that. I do still think XRP can be successful without XRP as just a bridge currency. And I do still think XRP will be utilized. I just don't think it'll be as big of a thing as what we, originally anticipated. And so just one other quick thing. We've got here, top expert says XRP is positioning for trillions, not billions. Western Union misses the bigger picture. So yeah, and this is where I talk about Ripple's pivot, right? Like how they've gone into the G Treasury, Hidden Road, the bank license, all that stuff. Like, I think Ripple are moving past the bridge currency aspect anyway. And I do think they are trying to put themselves where they're building their own infrastructure, right? Like they're trying to become their own bank. And to me, if they have their own bank, I think it's very likely they're going to try and incorporate XRP in some way, shape or form. That's just my opinion. And so, I do think when it's all said and done, I don't think Ripple are down and out yet. I don't think XRP is down and out yet. I think there's other use cases. And again, if you're just looking at this from a realistic perspective, like, for example, me thinking about XRP getting to like $10, $20, $30, I think that's still achievable. Do you see what I mean? Like, I don't think this whole thing of XRP being a bridge currency now means, XRP will never hit $10 now. I just don't see that, because I think from just speculation alone in a bull run, XRP can hit $10. So I definitely think it can still go to higher numbers. So, this is why I said I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but I just think we have to be realistic about what XRP is going to accomplish. That's all, right? And hopefully I'm wrong. Like, who knows? Like, maybe over time something could change, but I'm just going with what we see as of right now. So overall, not really concerned, to be honest with you, but just to be completely realistic and transparent with you guys, like, I do think it has an impact. Like, I think it would be lying if we didn't say, hey, the whole bridge currency narrative is slowly dying out. It does seem that way. And Ripple are not pushing it so much anymore either, right? Like, you don't really see them talking about cross-border payments so much anymore. And I think that's evidence of them moving away from that, which is fine. As long as they've got other use cases and other ways to try and get XRP to be adopted, then I'm not complaining. So let's see where they go from here. But yeah, overall, not a concern. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.